This is Mitch, and welcome to the 1000 Houses podcast. I'm here with Sophie Wright, and I'm going to tell you exactly how this got started. I was just perusing through the Facebook, whatever you do there, and saw this girl was in South Korea, and she had all these businesses, and she'd been all over the place. And I'm like, how in the world do you end up in a business in South Korea? I mean, I got to talk to this girl. And honestly, that's all I knew. And I said, you sound like someone very interesting. Would you please be on my podcast? So she answered, and she's here. And we've been in the green room here just a little bit, and I've been learning more about her. And I don't know, I find the story fascinating. So I'm going to sit here and we're going to try to get Sophie Wright's story out here.
Right? We're going to get some of it. Yeah.
Well, you can't get it all, but we're going to get to as much as we can. How are you doing, Sophie?
I'm doing well, Mitch. How are you doing?
I'm good. And she's in South Korea right now.
Yes, it's 6:46 in the morning, South Korea, really early to see everybody.
So you had a lot of businesses, about 8 businesses or so.
No, 5.
5, mm-hmm. Okay. And you actually specialize in a different kind of mindset and a way to set your mind. It's called your breathing work. Is that what you called it?
Yeah. So today I'll give you a little backstory. How's that? So My name is Sophie Jones-Wright, and I am a business coach today and a breathwork guide. And I am retired real estate agent. I started 4 different real estate businesses in 3 different states. And so that is where my backstory of owning those different businesses come from. But today I just run one, and I work with CEOs, entrepreneurs, and people in the real estate field to find fulfillment and joy in their career and have a full life, like Mitch and I were talking about in the green room, through awareness, through really owning what we want in life, through getting really authentic. And then also we want people, most people that I work with want to make a lot of money. They do make a lot of money. And there's sometimes this conception that if we're our whole self and we're really honest and we show people who we really are, we won't get to have everything, which is, usually tied to some limiting beliefs around money. So I asked Mitch a personal question, and he was wide open with it, but that's what I help people do. It's like I integrate the CEO, the entrepreneur, to say, hey, forget what you know. And if you could really be yourself and not wear all these masks all the time, how would that look and how would that feel? And then we make money based off of that person and not the person that's showing up as they think they should be. So that's what I do today.
We get fed so many pictures of what we should be like, and sometimes I think we get lost. It took me a long time to realize that I wasn't in the business for the money. I was in the business for freedom. Unfortunately, it takes money to buy that,
Oh, totally.
Unless you want to be a Buddhist monk or something. I mean, you can't actually be free with no money, but it's the kind of free I wanted to be was going to require some funds and some clothes.
Yeah. Me too.
And a car, probably.
And I wouldn't say that I'm driven by money per se, as much as I'm driven by experiences. So I really get off on watching people. I shouldn't say get off, but I do. I get off on watching people. I look at people like it, traveling to a different country, right? So it's like, if I find what makes someone tick, and then I accelerate them, that I get paid a lot of money to do that. But that's what brings me a lot of joy and fulfillment, because I'm basically traveling to a different time zone or a different location every time I work with a client and really peel back what's going on with them. So and I used to be all about the money. Starting a real estate business at 23, hiring my first business coach at 23, on the phones every day, prospecting, going to multiple cities and states, planning where, selling homes. People were like, how are you getting listings? You've only been here for 2 weeks. But I had a skill set and I had all these other things that I was like, oh, it's money driven, until I evolved a little bit more.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. What does your typical client look like? Where are they at when they call you?
I have them all over the map from all walks of life, but typically I have 2. Let me back up. I got 2. So I have someone like Mitch. So I have a gentleman, I've worked with a gentleman in his 50s in oil and gas, found himself unemployed, wanted to start a consulting firm. So I have people that are double my age, really looking for fulfillment, really looking to have an unemployed, high in his 50s, highly compensated salesperson in oil and gas, wanted to start a consulting firm. So, and I have multiple people that are double my age, and they're like, hey, I want to start something, or I want to take my business to the next level. But those people usually have a hard time being very honest, because very honest with people in their lives. They build a very confined idea. Of what they have to do. So now it's like they need to go with somebody that guides them through, okay, let's find a different way. And then I have this Born for More mastermind. I have 4 coaches that work for me. And it's for people wanting to launch businesses in the online space. So I have a branding coach that works for me, a content coach that works for me, a photographer that works for me, and a breathwork guide. I don't do the breathwork in that. I do the business coaching. And so that is for people that want to launch and grow businesses in the online space. That's less one-on-one time with me, but you get a lot more. So those are the 2 different types of people that hire me.
Yeah. And I was thinking about where are these people at in their personal lives, but I think you might have answered that. They're usually making some transition. They figured out that what they're doing now isn't making them happy.
Right.
If it's like me, I'm thinking, I knew I wasn't happy, but I didn't know what to do about it.
Totally. And so this is why breath work. So you were like, hey, what is that? So breath work is a form of breathing meditation. And so I incorporate all of this into my work because it allows us to calm down your thinking mind. You flood your thinking mind with oxygen and really tap into your intuition, tap into that feeling that's like, I'm unhappy. I really don't know what to do. And I could lose it all based off of one conversation, like that's where people really feel that way. I mean, you and I had that conversation a little bit before, like, if this isn't going to work, my whole life is going to look different. And so I teach people how to get really honest. I came back from human trafficking. I'm in recovery of alcoholism. I've just had to be brutally honest, and I'm still practicing it through the years. I'm not some monk and guru. I still fuck up, if you will, if we can say that on this podcast. But yes. I can show people like, hey, the cost of living out of your authenticity is far greater. So, and then we have building blocks. If you have someone you can be real honest with, then I can give you strategy and guidance and even communication skills, and then calm your nervous system down. And then you set out on the path and I walk right next to you. And in 6 months, you're like, oh my God, I built this business that I love. My marriage is better than ever. Or maybe we decided to part ways or whatever's going on, but you feel like yourself opposed to running to try to prove to everybody else that you're somebody you're not.
I think a lot of people get on a hamster wheel, and building a business can be like that. You can almost build yourself into a trap. You got to be real careful about that.
I think everybody, that's part of the success journey. I mean, I don't know anyone that doesn't build. I mean, I would say, I'll ask you that question. At some point in time in your success journey, you will build yourself into a trap because what you thought you wanted, you go work towards, and then you probably at some point wake up and go, oh wait, this isn't what I wanted. And that would be perceived as a trap. Would you say that's true?
The trap was you created so much overhead that you can't stop it. You know what I mean? And if you stop it, then you collapse your credit or, your good name or whatever. It gets to be, and you're running every Friday for payroll. But yeah, I did it early. It caused me a nervous breakdown from fatigue because I was running so hard to keep the hamster wheel going, to keep everyone paid, to keep the lights on. And businesses didn't want to pay me in a timely fashion, even though if they would just pay me the day I finished the job, I would have had no problems. But no one wanted to pay. They were on 60 days to get paid or 90 days to get paid, and then they wouldn't even pay you then.
Right.
So that's when I decided I didn't want to be in a service business like that. If they didn't pay me, I wanted to be in a business where I could take their property.
Right.
Pay me or I'm taking your house, or pay me or I'm taking the building. Pay me or I'm taking that land that you built all those improvements on. I'm taking it back, where I had some kind of muscle.
But that is that is such a small demographic, and that is who I work with, are people that have to have some form of control over their lives. So you think about the average person, they go to work. I've never worked for, well, that's not true. I've worked for another person for a small period of time, but I've always been an entrepreneur. So it's like, there's a form of control in that, right? Like there's consequences. So it's like, if you're like, oh, that business model doesn't work for me, and because of that, I'm going to swing over where I get to be far more in control. And what happens though, when you're in control, let's say you're like, okay, solve that problem. I can foreclose on your house, whatever. But then what happens when you're not in control of your personal life? What happens when you've got payroll? Can look very different. Payroll can look like relationships in your life that you are on the hamster wheel with, and you don't know how to get off, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when do we start?
Love it. I will send you an application. We will get it going.
I mean, this is really unfair. So, because you got to be talking to everybody in the friggin' planet. That's what I said about my mastermind trailer that they sent me. I said, there's no way to even turn that down. Everyone has that. Everyone's got to have that issue at some point in time, if not almost all the time, So,
right.
and until they learn to master it or learn to get a handle and see it coming, or avoid getting in those positions. But, the problem is we change. So what was working 10 years ago?
And it's the honesty in which, like, I'm finding myself in a similar transition that, I have coaches, I have mentors, I have people that help me. I do a lot of breath work to try to stay grounded. And, I've had so much change in the last few years, getting married, moving out of Houston, moving to Montana, starting a new business, I like to do it all as fast as possible. So, and I'm sure you can relate to that, you're like, and then I moved to South Korea. It really humbled me, but the change for me is like, who am I, right? Like, we all change in these new paradigms. Who am I as a wife? Who am I? Because it's really easy for me to fly solo. I can control that environment. I know what's going on. And so it's like, as we change and grow, can you really get honest with yourself and those around you? And do you have people in your life that you can be brutally honest with without judgment? And then be willing to, what most people would be considered selfish, I don't think is selfish if we are authentic with the people in our lives, even if it's going to hurt them at times. And most of the time it doesn't. Most of the time it gives the other person a ton of permission to go, you know what, me too. Like, I would like this to change too. But everyone is like so full of fear, I feel like, most of the time, and, have all this programming about who they think they should be. And so it really disarms them when I'm like, hey, I used to, sell my body for money and was almost beaten to death. Look at me today. And they're like, oh, really? And I'm like, yeah. So there's no story that's too scary that you can't overcome. It's like people box themselves further in instead of finding a confidant to help them get out.
It's hard to find people to talk to. That's why you usually, to me, you almost have to go to a stranger, because everyone has an expectation, or they got you set who they think you are. And you don't want to blow that. I mean, it's hard for them to see you in any other light, and they think they know you. But when you get with a stranger to talk about it, whether it's a therapist or a group, like, I was talking with a group of men that were all there for the same reasons. You could get real honest with them. For one, because I really didn't know them and I really didn't care what they thought, but I did want to get the perspective from some people maybe a little bit closer to my situation, like closer in the fact that they had the type of finances I had, if not much more than me. You know what I mean? That they, the problem with success is you can buy a lot of problems. I mean, when you can, when money is not your problem, and in fact you have more than you need, you can buy yourself a lot of problems. I mean, actually hand over the cash or write a check for something that's going to be a problem. And so I needed to be in a room where people had been through the experience, because a lot of them I didn't want to go through. I wanted to learn before I went. You know what I mean?
Right. And just to take it a little bit deeper, is it's like, you can buy a lot of problems. Well, those problems, because once money isn't a problem, you go find familiar problems that were the same problems that you had before money, but they look different, but they feel the same to your nervous system. So like we're on a baseline of familiarity. So you'll go find a problem that you think looks totally different. But if we really pulled it back, you'd go, well, tell me the differences between this and this. You just have more money now, right? Like, so I think that that's why it's the self-awareness, having people that go, well, let's look at that. Because I bet in that group, those men, if they all said, well, this is something I, took on, but it's like this big stressor, but some form of this same type of stress has been going on in their life for a long time. It's just the animal looks different, but they're still at the zoo.
One thing I noticed when I was quitting drinking and quitting smoking is my body and my mind was begging to pick up another habit. It just, he says, we got 2 habit things that aren't moving anymore. Like, when are you going to give us a habit? Yeah. I mean, I really noticed that I wanted another habit. So I was trying to substitute with a habit that was healthy for me, and that was clean and healthy, so, but I really noticed, it wasn't a cigarette, but, go to tobacco. chewing tobacco, it's not a drink, so go smoke weed. It was trying, it wanted me to substitute so bad. I actually felt exactly the need for a substitution. Like, wow, my brain is just wanting me to pick up another nasty habit. Once I've read,
so because that's the paradigm. That's where you're programmed. So breaking through a paradigm and getting a new baseline, all hell's going to break loose. There's a saying, I'm in recovery. So we always say, stopping drinking isn't hard. Staying stopped is the problem.
Yeah.
Because it's a whole different bag of like what you need to deal with to stay stopped, because your mind goes on overdrive and then a bunch of shit hits you that you're used to like anesthetizing. Like you said, you were crying all the time and you're like, wait, I don't want my new habit to be crying. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not what I want, although I'm healing. So, that is why people don't make changes. It's, that age old saying, the familiar hell over strange heavens. And that's something that I, did a little research about you. It's like, I really admire your, I know you're probably not perfect, but your ability to say, this is what I need. And this is going to probably ruffle some feathers about what people think about me. But what I think about me is more important, because I need to be able to breathe. And more people now than ever, especially coming through the pandemic, are living on minimal air in stressful situations, waiting for the other shoe to drop. And so when somebody like me comes in and looks them straight in the eyes and says, let's get real honest, let's just let it all out. Once we can start to deal with that, letting that weight lift, and then deciding how you want your life to look is really what I help people do.
So why South Korea?
I've hated it, first of all.
Well,
I'm going home. I'm coming to Houston on April 3rd to pick up my dog. But my husband's job is out here. So he works in oil and gas. And I came late to the party. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to come. And then I, feeling obligated, and also like a new life experience. I came to a very restrictive country during COVID. They have very different rules here. And
basically just nail your door shut, right?
It wasn't as that bad, but yeah, like you have a QR code that says like your vaccination status that's attached to your face. That's like, you get in everywhere with this, and I had to have surgery here. That's what you commented on. I got here, I found out I had to have surgery. So I had surgery in like South Korea. Don't recommend. I mean, most people, it's like, on my sinuses, but that's why I was here. And I will tell you, this has been the hardest 4 months that I can remember in a long time. And I have been through a lot, but like just the isolation, not talking. So it's like, I think about what I do for other people, and I have those people in my life. And I think about people that don't have that, that I can get real honest and be like, I don't like this, regulate my nervous system, do breath work. I still have my businesses, which I think I get a lot of value out of, or my business, my company, but it's been hard.
Can you describe the businesses you have, like kind of each one individually?
So I should just say it's one right now, but I have the breath work and I have the coaching. And if the mastermind could be looked at as a third, because I have coaches that work for me there. So, but my breath work and my business coaching is really all in one, because anyone that hires me to do that transformational process is going to be doing both. I no longer do any of those real estate businesses, but I did start a business in Salt Lake City, Utah, where I'm from. Then I went to Wilmington, North Carolina, started another real estate business as a real estate agent. Then I moved to Waller, Texas. That's where I touched down when I got to Texas, and started real estate, started selling real estate out there. Was always a top producer in any market I was in. I've paid for, always had a business coach, always had a sales coach. Most strangers will hire me based off of my skill set, right? So knowing what to say and how to say it. Then got divorced and moved to just the heart of Houston, wide open, and started another real estate business there as being a real estate agent, and then left that in 2020, basically 2019, 2020.
Yeah.
And started a coaching business.
I really didn't bring you on because I thought, you had anything to sell or anything, but I'm glad that you do, because I was just interested in your story and how someone ends up in South Korea and still how they function there, being an American, and how your business could run from, a whole different place on the planet.
Right.
Yeah. And so Technology makes it pretty easy to do this, but like, what's the time change from the United States to South Korea?
So most of my calls start at 5 a.m. We're 15 hours, so we're ahead of you. So most of my calls start, so I'm done with work with clients anywhere like right around 10 a.m. So it's a huge difference. Yeah.
We started about 4:30 here. What time did you start today on this interview?
6:30 a.m.
Okay. All right. And what about the food?
Okay, so I'm a lunch girl. Like I'm like a breakfast and lunch girl. They are not. Their Starbucks opens at 10 a.m. So there's like, we're not getting any Starbucks, but they have Korean barbecue and it's really good. Like that is like definitely really good. But other than that, a little underwhelming.
Yeah, I like the 12 dishes. You know, they always come up with it. I mean, around here at the Korean restaurants, they always come up with the 12 dishes. They got the sprouts and the turnips and they have all these different side dishes that go around every plate.
Yeah.
Is that how they do it there, or is that just here how they do it?
That's how they do it here too.
Oh yeah.
Like you judge a Korean barbecue restaurant on their sides, like how many sides you're gonna get. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So they have any dogs running around there?
No, because stop. I know where you're going with this. No, they don't have a lot of dogs, but I don't think they're eating them. And
it was a joke. I really don't think they do that.
I know. Yeah. And the Korean people have been very nice, but yeah, I've been able to run my business. I launched my mastermind coming here. So I hired 4 coaches and, it's a 6-month program for women that want to grow their businesses and launch online, like the week that I touched down here. So I like to work. It's something
you're busy, and that's probably your saving grace, huh?
Yeah.
Because if you don't like it and you're not busy, oh my gosh, that's a nightmare.
Yeah, totally. But negotiating terms of like, what do I need? Well, I'm going to go home early. My husband will be back in June and I'm leaving in like 2 weeks.
Okay. So tell me about the online businesses. What kind of businesses are they? This interests me personally. Yeah.
So all my businesses are online. So the business coaching and breathwork, I'll tell you the format. I think that's what you're looking for. Like how does someone work with me online? So no,
I was asking like your women that want to launch businesses online. Do you have a business that you're trying to get them to launch in conjunction with you? Or are they just opening random businesses? Or do you have a swath of businesses that you can do real well at?
Yeah. So no. So let's talk about the mastermind. So if there's women that want to launch an online business. So right now, what's booming is coaching businesses, like people that are like, oh, I have a skill set, I'm going to take it online. I also work with real estate agents because they want an online presence. So most women that I work with people that were like in occupational therapy that want to do different online businesses. So most people I would take on into my mastermind, and how that business works is they come in, there's an open enrollment every 6 months. And they get to interview with the different co-coaches. And then based off of that, we say, yeah, you're a good fit, because it's a big investment for them. They have to come to 3 classes a week. Their whole business is getting launched, built, audited, branded. So anyone that wants to launch an online business, who this probably wouldn't be good for, but the people that are in it now are like nutrition people, nutrition coaches, online coaches, someone in real estate, and that's who that will continue to grow. So anyone that wants to launch an online business and doesn't want to like just hire one coach who kind of thinks who they know what they're doing. My branding person used to work for Procter and Gamble. My copyright person used to work for News Weekly. So we like take you, I joke, but I'm like, we take you from junk mail to like Vogue in the online space.
Okay. Very interesting, because there's a lot to know about. I'm still struggling with online, making it all cohesive, you know what I mean? And what to leave in and what to leave out. Like you can't do everything. You can't do everything.
Well, that's why I have those co-coaches and myself is you can decide what you're going to do, but I certainly in the beginning, you need to focus with the rule of one platform, one place, one program if you're starting. Mm-hmm. Because if you have that, if you've got 10 things, you're farther along. If you have 10 things you're trying to do and you've never ran a business, you're going to be dead in the water. It's not going to work for you. So that's what we focus on. And then when we get that business up and going and you're making, consistent 5-figure months, we say good luck and keep us in touch. And we love you and we're grateful we got to be a part of it.
So do you help people with substance abuse or emotional issues, or you're just really dealing with business?
No. So of course, yes. No, I'm not just only dealing with business. The Born for More is more of like the tangible. And then people working with me privately, they're usually, most people that are attracted to working with me, they're like, oh yeah, I'll hire you for business coaching. And then on the first call, they're sobbing and things are going on with their personal life. So that's where the breathwork guiding and breathwork healing comes in. And that's where I get a lot of fulfillment, is really allowing people to have a transformational experience with me. And that's more of my one-on-one container. It's called Aligned, because we're aligning you to who you really are in your vision.
Aligned, that's cool. I was showing parts of my, well, I don't have it here. I was showing snippets of my transformation as I was quitting drinking and smoking. And I got so much interest. And at first it was kind of trickling in, and I was trying to talk to people personally, and I wasn't even, I felt like it was a calling. Like, if someone needs some help with something and I could help them, I need to help them with this part. And then it got to be so many, I couldn't call them all. So I just wrote the book, Enough, where I was just writing my own personal story. First thing I say is I don't have a certificate. I don't have a license. I'm not a doctor of anything. Yeah. The only thing I got going for me is I quit 3 years ago smoking and drinking on the same day, and I hadn't gone back. So that's the only thing I have for me. But if you want to hear how I rationalize to do it without an association, without a patch, without a therapist, without anything, I'll show you. I'll tell you what my thoughts were, for right or for wrong. I don't even know if I'm any good. I had to go back. The first thing I had to do was I had to go back and put a warning in the very front of the book in red that said, do not quit cold turkey like I did. It could kill you. Because I started, a famous artist called me and said that he'd been following me and he quit cold turkey like I did. And his left side of his body went numb and he was about to have a massive heart attack from DTs. So I had to go back and revise that. But after that, I just put it out for anyone who's interested. It's 1000houses.com/enough. And I give it away. I give it away digitally. And if anyone's just interested how the thought process went, I'm not sure it's right or it's wrong or if it'll work for anybody else. But if you want to know my story, what I thought to do and how I came to the conclusions I did and how I suffered through or overcame or whatever you want to call it through what I went through, you can read it. And I hope it helps. If it doesn't help, go to the next person until you find the right person for you.
Well, and you mentioned, because I listened to a podcast, that you weren't opposed to getting help. Like, you had a plan B guy if it didn't work. It's just, I think that's what it's like, enough. Like, I quit drinking because seemingly I had everything going for me, and I was suicidal and couldn't quit dating like guys in the cartel. Like, I just could not stop. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just like, in my mind, it was like, I was just going to be, when I was 10 years old, I watched Godfather, and I was like, that's my life path. And my dad's a criminal attorney out of Utah, and there's a lot of things going on there. But the point was, it was like, I was putting myself in dangerous situations one way or another. And the solution was either end my life or get help. And if you know me, I've persevered through so much that ending my life just seemed so crazy. I'd never been considered suicidal. And it's like, I think when you have that, and listen to your story where you're like, okay, I was going to go in this bar and God and I went in there and God and I left, and I stopped. And it's like, well, for a lot of people, then there was a lot of building up there. I have to imagine there was a lot of pain or momentum or awareness that you were like, okay, it has to stop. Like, I'm going to die. Like, you said that in there. And it's
no, I was going to die because I had developed acid reflux so bad that I was going to get esophageal cancer. There's no way around it. I mean, if you throw up bile every night for long enough, you will get esophageal cancer. There's no way around it. And what's causing it was the nicotine and the alcohol. That's what was causing it. Because the first day I quit, I didn't throw up. The first day I quit, that night I didn't throw up, and I haven't since. So I knew what it was. And I had told myself it was life or death. Yeah. You quit and you live, or you don't quit and you're going to die. So pick it. And so I had a real high resolve. That's why I had a plan B and a plan C. Like, if I couldn't do it, I really wanted to do it myself. One is I wanted to see if I had the discipline and what I was trying to figure out. I went into it to impress myself because I really didn't know, after 40 years of drinking and smoking, like, I don't know who I was after that.
Yeah.
I don't remember myself ever not drinking. And for the last 15 years smoking. So I just wanted to see.
And you know what I think is interesting though? Like, I just am like, wait a minute, light bulb moment. So you quit drinking and smoking on your own, right? But so most people, I don't want to say most people can't do that, but I certainly if people are struggling with that, I don't take that on per se. Like, that's not going to be something, if someone hires me and they're like, I need to get sober, I'm going to put them to a different, that's not my area.
Yeah, it's not your area. I get it.
Yeah. But you paid, I'm sure this mastermind you were in, you paid to get help, to have more understanding and awareness and acceptance, I would think, around what you really wanted in life once you were able to get rid of that stuff that was holding you back.
No, I did that all on my own. The mastermind didn't come afterwards till, what I needed help from others with apparently was, my wife's had Parkinson's for 14 years and I was getting to the edge of my wits and I wanted to handle it like a man. I didn't want to run from it. I wanted to step into it and handle it. And I was getting overwhelmed. And so I wanted to talk to these men about, stepping up. I got to step up. I don't want to run. I'm not running. I don't want to run. I'm feeling like running. I really want to run. Someone talk me out of it quick. Someone sit me down. Help me figure out how to get through it, not run away from it.
Yeah.
But I had a plan, if you really want something, you try something. If it doesn't work, you got to try plan B. If that doesn't work, you got to try plan C. I was scared to death I wasn't going to be able to do it by myself. So I had a plan B and a plan C I already knew. And I already knew when I was going to call them. If I tried 3 times by myself and it didn't work by myself, plan B was already in motion. You didn't ask no more questions. Don't say, don't change your mind. It's 3 times and you're out,
Yeah.
So, but luckily I didn't have to go, but there's no shame. One thing that bothered me though, like when I was thinking about AA and everything was, and maybe it's worked for a lot of people. Maybe I'm not saying anything bad about it, but the problem I had with it personally is I had read all these books about how we manifest what we're going to be, and you state what you want to be, and you dream about what you want to be, and you look at pictures about where you want it to look like and all that. And then I'm going to walk in a room and say, hi, I'm an alcoholic. I'm like, why the hell would I claim that?
Yeah.
To me, I was going to say, if I walk in the room and say, hi, my name's Mitch Stephen, I'm going to kick alcohol's ass. That's why I'm here. But I don't want to, I'm not saying that to dishearten anybody that's in AA. I'm not saying that. My personal belief system was, it ain't right to claim it. It's not right.
So that was the thing, that very thing, I think kept me suffering for 3 years longer than I needed to. So this is interesting. It's good to have this thought because I've read all the personal development books. My husband was joking with me. He's like, I feel like you don't have hobbies. I'm like, my hobby is understanding how to make people better. I like peak performance. I like understanding other people. I read 30 books. Like, this is where I get off, right? Like, I like making money. His hobbies are like hunting, fishing, doing all these other things. So, whatever. Yeah, no, not that. So, but I, for 3 years, would just say, there's just no way I can be an alcoholic. Like, I've done all this other stuff. I've overcome, and there's just no way that I can be an alcoholic. And not like I'm not going to claim it, but it's like, I had all that programming from personal development that's like, you can overcome anything. You can do anything. You get up and you get to work and you make it happen. And so like that mentality kept, because I couldn't get honest somewhere, kept me just going like, meh. And so everyone's story, and all I'm saying is that everyone's story is different. When I could go in somewhere and say, hey, I'm an alcoholic, or really it was, hey, my life is completely fallen apart. Like, I don't, like on the outside, things probably look okay. What's going on inside is not good. That allowed some surrender and acceptance. And I needed that. Like, probably like you wanted to man up and needed some acceptance around your situation for people to go, hey, okay, awesome. Let's assess and game planning and figure out how we're going to get better. I don't think that, I have to be careful, but I don't think that staying in a victim mentality around it is a good idea. But I think that what something like a 12-step program offers you is a game plan to get your ass out of it.
I understand that you're saying that to accept ownership of the problem. I get that. So
Yeah.
it just, I had a little conflict there. I was already accepting ownership of and I knew I had a problem, because if I didn't have a problem, it wouldn't have scared me to death, the thought of quitting. The second thing that scared me was I did not want to get left out of the party. I still want to go to the party, damn it. You know,
I think you probably still want it. I think you still go to the party.
I do. I do. When I quit, I said, just like the thing with Parkinson's, like, I'm not running. I don't want to run away from alcohol. I don't want to run away from people who smoke or the smoking area. I don't want to walk around the smoking area. I'm going to walk right through the middle of it. I just want to not want it anymore. And so I put a bottle of Jim Beam on my nightstand right next to a half pack of cigarettes. And every morning when I woke up, I flipped off the Jim Beam and told him, I own this shit right here. This is all mine.
Yeah.
And then I flipped off the cigarettes with the other hand and said, I own this shit. You don't have no say in it if I don't want you to have say in it. And I did that for 30 days. Probably people thought I was an idiot in the morning.
Hey, it takes what it takes, whatever it takes. You know what I mean? Like, our personal journeys are personal to us. It takes what it takes.
Yeah. So like I said, I don't want, if someone's having success with AA or whatever, I'm not saying one iota don't. I just personally had a problem. So, and the other thing,
I have a question for you. We're going to switch gears, because this was on the sheet, which I'm glad you didn't get. So who has been like the most influential mentor for you? You've done a lot, and you can tell you're very self-supporting, very self-sufficient, but like who has mentored you in a way that's been really impactful and positive in your life?
It's different people at different times, because there's different stages, right?
Right.
But there's been people along the way. Carlos Bolito was a successful businessman who was a POW and got captured in the Bay of Pigs when he went from America to fight with Cuba, and Kennedy forgot to send the planes. He was a POW for 2 years where they did horrible things to him every day. And he came over to this country with a t-shirt and jeans, and they gave him a toothbrush and a $10 bill and a place to live for 30 days and became a multi-millionaire. And I learned from him all the time I was around him. I actually ask a lot of questions. I try not to be annoying. I also try to give back, so I'm not just taking. You know, I'll give back. I might even be able to help them because they're so much smarter than me. I can't help them with any knowledge, so I'll just go mow your grass. You know what I mean? I don't know what, but I'll give something back to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had a really good father, but he didn't help me, but he helped me in toughness. He helped me in mental discipline. And he was a Marine and a football player. These guys push through pain, you know? It's a double-edged sword, because the same pain that I would be able to push through, sometimes you're ignoring pain, or you're like actually not letting anybody know you're hurting, because that would be a wussy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's a fine line right there. I had to learn when it was okay to say, or okay to cry, or okay to break down a place and time, you know, that it was okay, that I didn't have to hold it all in all the time.
Yeah. Who mentors you today? Who do you go to today? I'm curious.
I was 2 years with the multipliers with those 50 men.
Yeah.
But I think I got
a life-changing experience, wasn't it?
Oh, no doubt. But, you know, a lot of the people that go to mentorship stay with them for 5 and 10 and 15 years, or a long time. I believe, like, I go to one for a couple of years, I get what I get from it, you know what I mean? And then I switch to another facet that I want to fix or that I want to work on. This one, I went there for a very specific reason, and I got what I went there for. The one before that, I was trying to back myself out of the business to where I could watch a business work without me working in it. And I did that. So once I accomplished whatever I went there for, I moved to another one that had a different set of, with a different
desires and needs and struggles. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I love those guys, and I'm going to miss a lot of those guys, but my job there was done. You know, I mean, they did for me, and I did what for them we were supposed to do.
Yes.
I accomplished it. So I move. I don't know where I'm going right this minute, but I will have something shortly.
Yeah. Same here. I mean, the coaching industry is very much like that. Like I've had different mentors throughout my entire life. My first business mentor came to me. I don't know if I'm going to share this story, but I feel like I have to share it now.
You don't have to do anything.
Yeah, but it's kind of interesting. So when I came home from being trafficked, how I got into that situation was I would date very normal, powerful guys in business. And then I always had an affinity for bad boys, like loved a drug dealer. But my dad was a criminal attorney. Like my uncles, I just was around different morals growing up. He's a really good guy, but like I'd go to dinner with 5 men, 3 nights a week growing up. I was just in it was like this little girl that was like, anyways, it was around different people. And long story short, broke up with a guy that owned a snowboarding business, met a man that had been turning women out into prostitution for well over a decade. Got a DUI, got evicted. And I don't remember the third thing, like within 2 weeks of meeting him. And he was like, oh, I'll help, no worries. And just totally grew me like, I'll be your boyfriend. Brought beautiful women around me that had all of these diamonds, all of this stuff. And then they're masters at what they do. Like when you really start to find out about human trafficking, it is like they're grooming a young woman for that lifestyle. Isn't like when people are like, how did you get involved in that? You have to really understand the dynamics and dichotomy around that. And anyways, so once I agreed to do that, the very next day he had me on an airplane away from everyone I knew and off to the East Coast. And that man almost beat me to death in a shower in Las Vegas. I had to run home with everything and the only clothes on my back. But the point was, when I got home, I had made so much money. I was like, I'm great in sales. Like I had never made that much money ever. And it was a lot. It was like, okay. And so I called somebody that I knew that was really used to be a professional snowboarder, made a lot of money in stocks and real estate. And I said, hey, I'm going to start a service. I'm going to start a prostitution service in my hometown. And I want you to invest. That was my game plan because that was the only avenue that I saw to make a lot of money. And my mentor said to me, I didn't know that he knew my whole story. And he said, Sophie, give me 6 months. And in 6 months, if you want to do this still, but you got to read every book that I tell you to read, we'll talk about me investing. And he had me read like Think and Grow Rich and Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and all of these different personal development books. And that really changed the trajectory of my mentorship. And I've had different mentors.
What a great friend. What a great friend.
Oh, that person's like a brother to me. That person and I have a bond today that we'll never not have. But the point is what I'm saying is I would never, his name's Travis, I would not have Travis mentor me today. So I'm just saying there's different mentors around different times, and also wanting to share a little bit backstory of like how all that came about.
So now I have like 3 or 4 different ideas, and I hope I don't lose them all. And one of them is probably the most important just for humanity. So I'm going to ask that one first. What do you say to someone who's being trafficked? How do you get out? Like, what do you say to someone who needs to get out?
Find a safe person. Find one safe person. So there's different services right now today. There's different online groups. So what happened for me was my family got really educated on how to bring someone home. But let's just say you're working the streets and you want to get out. I would go to a church, find a Facebook group. There's different Facebook survivor groups. There's a lot of different areas, and find one safe person. It just takes just the willingness to say, I would like to leave. There's a lot of what women don't understand that are being trafficked is that they're told that nobody wants them, they'll be right back, and that there's no resources. And that's a lie. The problem is that what happens, our same paradigm. There's an amazing book called The Body Keeps the Score. You would probably love it. He talks to different POWs. He talks to people that have been sexually abused. And what happens is we store trauma in our body. And so that's where our body feels familiar. This is why I do breath work with people. And it's not getting them out. This was the problem with me. It's preventing that, showing them their worthiness of not going and finding another pimp or another person. Just because I left that situation, I would then go and I married a normal-ish guy who was not a very nice person, or I date, executives in big companies, but then I would always default. I would go find, my boyfriend before I got sober was in prison for 25 years, was a huge drug trafficker in the cartel, got out, did the same thing. That was my default programming until I could learn to heal my nervous system and move that trauma out of my body. So find a safe person, then start to find some somatic therapy so that you can really get safe in your body and you understand what it's like to be around people that are safe.
I can tell you're passionate about this, and I can tell that it still hurts you. So I want to thank you very much for being honest and vulnerable, because probably more important than anything else, I hope people come here and find the answer to their problem. And I've never talked about this before, and I'm glad that we are, because somewhere someone's going to listen to this podcast, and you're probably going to move them out of where they're at. So, and
they can talk to me. You can find me online. So we'll talk about that at the end. But yeah, I mean, you can always reach out to me. I have a ton of resources around that stuff.
Okay, good. It's a huge problem. I in my real estate career, I've had chances to buy strip clubs. I could have rented for a fortune, because you could only get so many licenses for so many strip clubs in the area around here. And if you owned one, you had a gold, you won the Willy Wonka golden ticket. I didn't want to be part of that. You know what I mean? I don't care. I wasn't in there, or I wasn't in. I didn't even want to support it at all. And I could have made a fortune on the places. I didn't even want to buy them and resell them to anybody, because somehow the shit would still stink me up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to be part of it. So I've been blessed in that way, I guess. I try, no one's perfect, but I try. And I try to live to be a better mark on the world than the worst mark. I really try hard. I'm not saying I always get it right, but I try hard. So let's talk about how to get a hold of you.
Okay. So you can find me. Instagram is the best way to get in touch with me. So it's at sophie.jones.wright. And that's the best way. You can also go to my website, sophiejonessacredcoaching.com. And then why we push to have this podcast so early is I am doing a 6-week breathwork journey, personal development journey. It's starting at the end of the month. So Mitch, I think you'd be a great candidate for it, but it's called Unlock Your Exceptional Life. And this is really where we're going to talk a lot about and work through. You do breathwork each week with me, but we're going to be doing some honest journaling, some honest self-reflection. It's going to be an honest group of people, probably like that mastermind of what's not working. And I think the thing is it's like, if people really are living their truth, then it actually is making the world a better place. If you're living in your gifts, if you're really being honest about who you are, it took me a long time to get that. That's giving other people permission to do the same. And so that's what we're going to do in the 6-week journey. So that's how you can work with me. You can also work with me in other ways, and you'll find that on my website, one-on-one and different things like that.
Okay, so I want everyone to go to 1000houses.com/Sophie, SOPHIE. That'll get you over to the show notes. If you didn't have time to write any of this down or don't remember, just go to keyword Sophie, 1000houses.com/Sophie. Get over there. There'll be everything in the show notes you need. If we talked about it in here, it'll be over there. So check it out. I'd like to thank you for taking the time. I'm so glad.
Thank you for asking me.
I didn't give you much reason to be on, but I'm sure glad you answered, because I was hoping, well, maybe she'll look at my podcast or whatever and see if she feels comfortable. But I just thought, you've really done a lot. You've been through a lot. You could tell that you had a lot of experiences, and that you're willing to share them. And so I was hoping you'd share them with the audience, and I'm glad you did.
Thank you for asking me to be on, and I'm so grateful to have met you and been a part of it. So thank you so much.
We could probably talk for a couple of days and never take a breath, but anyways.
I feel like you and I could talk for a long time.
I would just scratch the surface. So if you got maybe one time we're going to hone it down to just the breath work, and we'll talk 15 or 30 minutes about that, make sure you just rebook with my people, because I'll come on. I just wanted to get to know you really on this one, because I didn't know the depth and the width of everything. So we'll do the next one on just breathing work, and that way we'll
you and I will do a breathwork session, and then we'll do it on breathwork.
Okay, say it again. The what session?
You and I will do a breathwork session together, and then we can come back on so that you can talk from a place of having done it. So we'll talk about it in the future.
Okay. This is Mitch Stephen. I'm fixing to go to a breathwork class. Okay.
That's right. Okay.
I don't even know what to expect, but I'm going to go to a breathwork class. All right, you guys, this is Mitch Stephen with 1000houses.com. I'd like to thank Sophie Wright for being on with us today. We covered a lot of ground. We are going to do something again in the realms of breathwork. I would also like to thank livecom.com, livecom.com. It's all about lead generation and cell phone capture and texting and how to increase your business. Who doesn't want the cell phone number of everyone that called their billboard or their ad, or, so just go there on the homepage, livecom.com, and watch the videos. I'll show you how I reduced my days on market to 4 days. And I don't ever put a sign in the yard of my house, ever. There's no more signs, baby, no more signs. So I will show you, Livecom will show you how that works. All right, we're out of here. Bye, Sophie.
Bye.